Elden Ring has seemed a little too easy lately. Honestly, I'm feeling like a bit of a weenie. I mean, summoning, using weapons, using good spells? What am I doing? Trying to have fun? Thankfully, when it comes to babies, Elden Ring knows how to weed them out. The bubble spells are awful. While some spells summon giant rocks from space or a death laser, these summon bubbles, and bubbles aren't as good as meteors. Or are they? To watch these runs live, follow me on Twitch. We're playing Elden Ring in weird ways all the time. Join my Patreon to give me money, it's the best place to do that. Now, let's get started with this bubble blowing baby. Any more rules we should know before starting?
You all know the rules.
All bubble-blowing babies will be beaten senseless by every able-bodied patron in the bar.
We're starting off as an astrologer. Apparently Spongebob has more intelligence than it might initially appear. Though maybe not much, we're starting off with a rock bottom plunge. Now we're in Limgrave. Sorry, I'll drop the accent. Get a fry cook kit, a horse named Mystery from Sandy, and help Patrick out of a hole. After stopping at the Third Church of America, we actually don't go into the Dragon Barrel right away. Instead, we're heading into the Saoirse Ronan Riverwell. If you want bubbles, you need to go to rock bottom. The first bubbles are from a dung beetle right at the entrance. They're like a bubble shotgun spraying out in front of you with the force of bubbles. The second bubble spell is a little more effort. We have to avoid some minotaurs and find a quick warp gate to teleport even further into the bottom. This one's being held by a beetle, but that beetle is surrounded by zombies with spears, and somehow we made it out just fine. I think these bubbles are homemade.
Oh, these aren't homemade. They were made in a factory. A bomb factory.
While we're here, I'm gonna sneak past the Sleepy Dragon Soldier and grab Marika's Scar Seal, which raises the soft stats by 3. We're gonna need a bit of Arcane, though it's actually not gonna matter. We won't use this. Also, I hit the dragon before warping out. I just thought that'd be kind of fun. Now we'll return to the Dragon Barrel for our regularly scheduled Elden Ring run. I don't have to come here every time, I suppose, but like, why wouldn't you? The Knight's Cavalry is completely free. I don't even have to bubble it. I don't have to hit it with anything. On the way to get some karate gloves, I hit this beetle with the bubbles, and it seems like the stance broke pretty fast. Let's keep an eye on that. Our karate gloves are just for this dragon. It's really bad and gives us a big load of runes. You can find out more about this by Googling Spongebob, Bad Dragon, Big Load on your work computer. Nearby, we'll scoop up the Dectus Medallion Part 1 and some runes, and Radigan's Sword Seal, though we don't really need that. There are a few more things we need from Limgrave for maximum sponge. The Strength Physic tier could help us if we want anchor arms, and of course we need a jellyfish. These soldiers won't leave us alone though, so I guess I'll try to bubble them and, oh, hey, whoa. Is that damage good? Oh, we're in Limgrave. Obviously these enemies are just weak. We have to get a Spirit Calling Bell from Mindy too, and now we can summon the jellyfish. Her name's Aurelia. She's gonna be a huge help, medium help. She's trying, okay? Let's show her off against Margit. She's gonna have to carry us with some poison attacks and quite a bit of bulk. We can only throw bubbles if, well, wait, hold on. Those are good. What happened? I used these in the guitar run and they were unusable. I know they got a little bit of a buff, but I didn't realize it was this big. Now, let's go through the list. You can cast them while in motion, letting you strafe so attacks don't always just hit you while you're casting. The spread of the mini bubbles is less of a spread, so it works better up close. Charging them increases the damage. They all last longer and have bigger hitboxes. Oh, and their tracking and damage, including stance damage, was drastically increased. They're not twice as good, they are immeasurably better. The old bubbles were unusable. These are usable. No multiplication of 0 will equal something greater than 0. Back to Margit though, I ran out of magic, so we kind of had to wait for the poison to kill him. We have to remember to hydrate next time.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. I need it!
I want to go to Lernia, but I'm not ready for Godric yet, so let's just boogie around the side and hit the warp to go right in front of the boating school. Tempt fate a little bit.
So are we still deathless?
1 minute later.
Okay, look, I was trying to do the speedrun movement through Lernia because Lernia is so boring. I figured it out the second time. I'm sure we'll never die to this again. We get the second jellyfish here with the jellyfish shields forever, boost our casting with the intelligence physic tier, and stop by the Bellum Grace before realizing we only have one half of the Dectus Medallion. So imagine Spongebob in Fort Height. Then we ignore the Fort Knight and grab the second piece of the Dectus Medallion so we can boogie up to Altus. After a brief detour to bubble the Erdtree Avatar and get the magic boosting physic tier. Remember when I said I wasn't ready for Godric yet? That's true. It also means that I'm not ready for Godfroy yet. Hey, you look a lot like Godric. Weird. It's harder without Aurelia here to distract him. That's her main job. Speaking of, let's get her more health by raising her level with a bit of seaweed. The Windham Catacombs are the place to go. It's kind of great how long the bubbles are, since we can hang back and snipe the gargoyles, then do the same thing to the first Lindell Knight. Unfortunately, that fortune stops with the ceiling that bashes us into spikes. We can't snipe from there without getting squished, so we die pulling the lever, and die again trying to go back for the runes. Oh well, nothing to grab now, let's just take on the Erdtree Watchdog. He breaks our jellyfish down really fast, which might not seem like that big of a deal. After all, he can't be poisoned. But that means we're his sole focus, and we probably won't have a lot of time to get our spells off. They might have been buffed, but they're still slow. We're still able to pull it out though, and Aurelia's up to +5. Stream 2, we're back and heading up Mount Gelmir into the Gelmir hero's grave. My movement through here was immaculate.
On opposite day it is.
Doesn't matter. The runes are really close to the entrance, and we have enough seaweed to level up Aurelia to +7. Pretty great. What's in this stuff?
Seaweed. 50% sea, 50% weed.
Neat. Blaze it and whatnot. All that talk of seaweed has given me the munchies, so let's go get the ingredients for some phenomenal pickles. I'm anticipating the Clean Rot Knights to be a problem, since they're so aggressive, and Aurelia is barely aggressive enough to distract one boss. But I underestimated the powers of Bubbles 2.0. Massive damage and stance pressure keep these ladies occupied, and we come away with the Golden Scarab for 20% more runes. Before taking on Bubble Bass, I scoop up the Meteorite Staff. It has S scaling with intelligence and never needs to be leveled up. That makes the bubble damage so good, it just 2 shots Nerd Juice and 3 shots the Bubble Bass. The last one I free it. He gave up. Spongebob wasn't feeling merciful though. Now we'll never forget the pickles and get 30% more runes when we rub 2 pickles together, or 56% stacking with the Scarab. Now I'm the strongest guy in the sea, other than, that other guy.
Rip my pants.
When Big Larry came round just to put him down.
We ride through Goo Lagoon and into Redmane Castle. There's a party going on to see who the biggest jerk is. Currently that's being held by Larry the Lobster. Honestly, we're lucky he's feeling under the weather because we don't stand a chance. Sure, we can summon Patrick and some other SpongeBob characters. Remember that episode with the old samurai man? I'm sure it exists. There's a lot of SpongeBob out there. Our strategy is pretty simple. Stay back, throw bubbles, and hope he doesn't look at us. If he looks at us, we die. The big issue, while the bubbles are better, they still require a bit of stat investment, meaning our vigor isn't where it should be, if this is accurate to SpongeBob. I should be able to take an unlimited amount of punishment, but since we had to throw bubbles right away, we're not there yet. I keep trying to make it work since the summons should be able to solo Larry while we stay safe far away, but he's just so fast, and the bubbles are so slow. So I died 4 times before giving up. We're gonna have to come back later. Let's go try something else, like our general grind. I make burgers after all, gotta get our grind on. The Putrid Avatar in Dragon Bear was pretty easy. Its attacks are slow, even if it hits just as hard as Larry. But it's slow compared to like normal weapons or normal spells. Our spells require us to bring our lips together, push some soap out to lazily waft over and hit the boss. Since it has endgame health, that's not really an option. Grail's right here, he's also pretty easy. It goes a lot better. The stance breaks so fast when you hit his face. As long as you don't screw up, we should be fine. And yeah, if I said that, I'm gonna screw up. The bubbles are just too slow. We can make them faster if we invest in dexterity, but we're already on a side quest to get more vigor, so what if instead we got virtual dexterity? That means we have to go to boating school, and the entrance exam is a dragon. But this dragon is weaker than Grail. It's Smaragd. The stance breaks fast, and it flies around a lot, so we have to chase it down. That's actually just like Grail, now that I think about it. Technically, you don't have to kill the dragon to get the key for the boating school. We're just already short on money on that fry cook salary, so might as well. On our way in, we can snipe the Burger Kings. They're after the Krabby Patty secret formula. The Whopper hasn't evolved since the 80s after all. Inside there's some marionette soldiers I can also snipe to make this easier. Pretty uneventful. Hold on. The marionette armor is kinda spongy. That's exciting. I thought we were gonna have to be naked Sponge for the majority of this run, but now we can be solid Sponge. Red Wolf of Radagon heavily resists magic, which is why I was planning on saving this for later, but it also has like no HP. I'm pretty sure this is just literally a dog that learned carrying sword magic because it dies so fast. Upstairs we can grab the Radagon icon for 30 virtual dexterity. Basically it means we cast faster. You feel that difference? Are you feeling it now? We're ready for Larry. We used to be a wimp, but now we have armor, slightly faster spells, and a little more vigor. Now we're a jerk, and everybody loves us. That little boost from the armor and vigor is so important. This big wave would have absolutely killed us without it. A few more bubbles and we get the win, proving that we are far tough enough for the Salty Spitoon, or at least downtown Bikini Bottom.
Oh, Bikini Bottom, we pledge our hearts to you, as faithful, as deep, as true, as blue. Bikini Bottom, we love you.
Okay, whoops, forgot to fight Squidward. I think it's because we fought Squilliam, but at least we beat him, right? Gostock is weak to bubbles, so now we get that gate open and run through the danger path. It's super safe. We actually have vigor now. Squidward has a lot of arms. They all have weapons, and he's really annoyed that we're here. After Larry, though, he's not even a speed bump. More like God rip, bozo. Hope they serve Krabby Patties in hell. Gilka is less than a speed bump. She's like, some sort of simile. She died so fast I didn't have time to come up with one. We get the Ritual Sword Talisman for 10% more damage while we're at full health. We can boost the damage further with the Godfrey icon, and we don't have that. Oh yeah, we didn't kill Squilliam. Here's where I learned the importance of diversity in bubbles. Sometimes you want the big bubble. Sometimes you need the faster bubbles. When Godfroy misses the melee attacks, it's small bubble shotgun time. When he wants to do earthquakes, it's big bubble sniper bomb time. That makes sense. The bubble should be super effective against a ground type. We're officially set for Bikini Bottom, just have to beat the Seahorse Man outside. Aurelia is doing her job, dealing absolutely no damage and distracting the boss. Between the two of us though, he's got people sniping him from both sides and has to decide which to chase or shoot with fireballs. That also works. Aurelia gets the poison off, which is pretty huge and means she actually did do a decent amount of damage before, she died. So I try to switch to the bubble shotgun for the last bit of the fight, but honestly, it's mostly just the poison and dodge rolling. I did get a nose job before we go into the city. Gotta look our spongiest. I'll be honest, I feel like I kind of phoned it in character creation. I don't like character creation. Whenever I play a game myself, I choose the default Dan option and just go for it. You never look at your character's face in a game. Why does everyone care so much about the forehead depth slider? Whatever, we're going to the Weeping Peninsula for Sacred Tears. I think I just don't want to go to Lindell for some reason. We even stall out cleaning off a big turtle to duplicate Radon's Great Rune. Sorry, I just got that in the script. It's his duplicated Remembrance. They should flip those names. The Remembrance is what gives you runes. The Great Rune is a power that helps you remember the boss you fought. Whatever. Finally into the capital. We're passing some fellow bubble blowing connoisseurs. Why didn't I grab these horns? First, the bubble spells are honestly pretty good now, so I don't really need the horns. Second, they are a farmed item, so I could get the boring bad horn from the little one or the better horn from the big one after running through here over and over and over again, but that sounds exhausting. Third, the bubble weapons scale with faith, even though the spell bubbles scale with intelligence and arcane, so our stat spread would get weird and wild. What the hell? Why do this? Why have 2 different bubbles scaling with 3 different stats? And finally, number 4, it's holy damage, which starts to suck after the next boss. Morgott resists holy, Fire Giant resists holy, Godskins resist holy, Malekith resists holy, Gideon doesn't, but he's Gideon, Godfrey kind of doesn't, and then Radagon and the Elden Beast like fully resist holy. So yeah, the magic ones are just gonna be better. Whatever. Erdtree Avatar dies. Ritual Shield Talisman for more damage resistance at full health. The Godfrey Shade presents a bit of an issue since it can't be poisoned. Aurelia's only contribution is going to be as a distraction, but since his only damage is up close and personal, we can just stay back and snipe. Maybe I should try and do some trick shots like a 360 no-scope bubble. Can I get into FaZe Clan with bubble shots? Let me know, otherwise I'm not doing it. It's another W. Then we spam the Black Knife Assassin with bubbles from the bed while doing science. The Jellyfish Shield we picked up has a weapon art that boosts damage by 20%. But is that just for weapons or is it also for bubbles? It's for bubbles. That should be great against Morgott. I decided not to bring Sandy since her cheeks would give him extra HP and stance resistance, which makes sense. Someone explained how stance works to me. Apparently it's like an invisible HP bar that slowly heals rather than an invisible bar that slowly heals like the other status effects. That sounds the same, but it's different. Morgott has some baloney hitboxes this fight. Good for him, I guess. In phase 2, he gets the suds and we know the cure. It's cleaning with soap. Aurelia got the poison off before she dies, and we've already got the bubbles off before he turns his attention to us. Big win. Let's level up that Jellyfish Shield and start grinding up some levels like some ground beef.
You and me double patties and the triple patties fun. Me favorite's the patty-free patty, me cheap, it's just a bun.
Woohoo! Forbidden Lands. This better be important to the DLC, otherwise just like, why is it here? For another Knights Cavalry and a Gargoyle? Just give their drops to one of the other 10 versions of the boss that are already in this game and cut out this weird isthmus. Speaking of things to ignore Realis as we make our way through the mountaintops of the giants. Really just hitting you with the
1 hour later.
Here, I really hate how much running around there is late game. Dennis time, or is the fire giant the bigger boot? He hits really hard, it's a bit of an issue. I thought since he was slow I'd have time for the big bubbles, but as it turns out, small bubbles are better. They still break his stance really fast, and we can successfully land them without dying, and twice. Third try is going great until I ran out of magic. What do I do now?
We're not cavemen. We have technology.
That worked great. That worked fine, I guess. I want Mrs. Puff's hat, since it kind of looks like the Fry Cook hat from the Krusty Krab, but I'm worried her magic resistance is 80%. After seeing how effective technology was against that last bit of the fire giant though, I think we can just bash her in. Moongrum gets bubbled so badly, it's pretty funny. This dude messes me up sometimes, so I like the revenge. Phase 1.
Are you ready, kids?
It takes a few cycles to get through phase 1, so
I can't hear you.
Phase 2, Mrs. Puff starts jumping all around and summoning, so we summon too. Aurelia does fine, and we run around with the power of technology until she dies. We get the hat, which boosts our intelligence by 3, also trade in her soul for a staff. At this point, with our intelligence where it's at, the S-scaling meteorite staff is falling off, compared to the S-scaling of the mommy moon staff. It's the same letter, but the Moon Mommy staff is slightly better. Only problem, we need more intelligence to actually use it, so yeah, it's time to grind. Putrid Avatar in Grail. I'm back and I'm bubblier than ever. So it dies. Grail also goes better. More damage. Health and armor just makes you better at fighting. Who could have guessed? Speaking of things we skipped, here's Borealis. It has less health than Grail, but it's also got an annoying roar that starts up so fast that you get hit by it if you're below the dragon. You can't roll. You can't run. You just get hit. Annoying, but we clear it out no problem. And finally, the Erdtree Avatar in the Mountaintops of the Giants that splits in two. Also not a problem because it takes a lot of time to do that, and we're thus able to bubble the shit out of it while it splits. The best beef to grind is actually in the consecrated snowfield though. To get there, we have to go through the castle's Horus Hole. So I figured I could just snipe the lions through the door because they can't get through it. Fun fact though, their ice breath isn't a projectile, it's a lingering effect. How do you like them cranberries? Second try, we get them out of the way so I won't have to deal with them if we run through here again. But when I try sniping more guards, it's kind of annoying. So I just ran past them, opened the shortcut, and we went to fight Nile the crocodile. Is that a Spongebob character? Is that one of the Rainforest Cafe mascots? Impossible to tell. Aurelia starts to distract. We manage to get the other guards down, but Nile gets us. Another second try victory though. We just clean out the guards faster, so Aurelia lives long enough to poison this dirty crocodile. We just back up and send out bubble after bubble until he dies, then grab the Haligtree Peace Medallion number 1 and kill an old man again.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Through the hidden path to the Haligtree and into the consecrated snowfield, an ugly, foggy area with reskinned bosses that drop a lot of runes. Mr. Krabs would love how economical it is. First rehash is Anastia, but she's less nasty after we clean her up with bubbles. The bubbles are great at NPC fights since NPC's AI is programmed to dodge as you cast, and the bubbles are slow as shit. So by the time they're done dodging, there's still like a whole second before the bubble's actually going to hit them and they just walk into it. It's hilarious. Next, it's another Putrid Avatar, which we can also clean up with bubbles. Lots of dirty bosses here. Weird coincidence. There's a Somberstone 8 on a boulder.
It's not just a boulder. It's a rock.
Sorry, Ensha is harder than he's ever been, but our bubbles eventually get this edgy lad to pop. We summon 2 Squidwards to help us with the Alaskan Bullworm. It's kind of a lottery if they're gonna do good. Today, they did bad. Honestly, it's better to just use the fast bubbles on its buns since they break the stance pretty fast. Now we've grinded enough to be manly, let's eat a bowl of nails for breakfast without any milk.
We got a manly flair. We got the stuff. We're tough enough to save the day.
After Sandy burns down the Erdtree, not sure that's the best idea for her, it's probably the only thing making oxygen, but I'm not a scientist, I'm a sponge, we head into Furma Zula. It's scary, so we just run away from everything and go right for Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. It's actually pretty fine. We throw bubbles, let Aurelia activate the poison, let Bernie take the aggro. We can even avoid the rollout and stand on a pillar to shoot away as long as... I don't know. The rollout didn't hit us 3 times in less than a second. Technically 4, since the first one broke the guard of our great shield. That first hit is actually my bad, since it turns out that the jellyfish shield is pretty garbage as an actual shield, and I should have known that. But 3 hits instantly after that feels bad. Next time we do the same thing, it just goes better because we don't get rolled out. Before the swag jump, there's a few beastmen, and I have a great sniper rifle, so sniping them would make it safer. I'm really leaning onto the misleading foreshadowing bit today, huh? Swag jump acquired, we're on to the bird run. Sniping the birds does make it safer. We can grab a Somber Stone 10, then guard with the jellyfish shield to die, because it's a terrible shield. I didn't pick that up yet. There's another Seahorse Sentinel outside Malekith, and lately I've loved just running around him and doing the Malekith fight, because I'm better at fighting the guy who keeps the Rune of Death and is the legendary warrior of America than I am at fighting Guy on Horse. But this one has to die, for reasons. Start with the slow snipers, then switch to the shotgun when we can, and we get the W, which means we now have the spongiest armor set in the game. It's really heavy, and that's kind of why we needed the extra levels for endurance. Malekith is super aggressive. Surely he'll be a problem for our slow casting, right? Not really. First phase, Aurelia is alive long enough to keep him distracted while we deal some damage. He honestly doesn't have that much health. Phase 2 begins, and it's not as scary as you think. He's still aggressive, and the damage over time is really rough. But the windows to attack after he makes silly goose moves let us use the shotgun to finish him off without trouble. With him dead, we arrive at the Ashen Capital.
Did it, Patrick! We saved the city!
I was honestly more worried about Sir Plankton Ofnir, the all-knowing. Maybe you've heard of him. His spells are really fast, and he never has to stop to drink, so we have to kill him really fast. Thankfully, he doesn't stop talking, and we can send out one giant paint bubble. Actually, since it's slow,
2 giant paint bubbles!
Then he uses his weapon art, which decreases both our defenses against magic and his. Hey, wait a minute, my bubbles do magic damage. Thanks, man. I wanted to finish this run up quickly. Throwing for content is always appreciated. Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, is the saltiest of spitoons. Just the roughest, toughest dude to ever do it. In phase 1, we use the sniper to stay back and divide his attention between us and Aurelia. But phase 1.5 has a shockwave that covers the entire arena, so we're not gonna have time for the big bubble. We get in and shotgun him with smaller bubbles. Phase 2, Aurelia dies pretty fast, so we're alone. But fast bubbles are just good enough to get it done, and suddenly we only have one boss left. This was supposed to be bad. Don't get me wrong, it's not like great, but it's not even close to bad. Godric's Great Rune gives us +5 in every stat. It's just good because, that's good. That's just really good. Technically, could have made this a little bit better by having Miss Puff reset our stats for 5 less arcane since it doesn't scale with our casting staff, but it's really not that big of a deal. The final boss is Man Ray! He's super aggressive, so I get that jellyfish boost and stick to the fast bubbles while he's mad at me. When he gets mad at Aurelia, I switch to the sniper bomb. There's a bit of a problem though. Man Ray is made to destroy casters. Deflecting spells is like his favorite thing to do, and then he fires back with a counter ray. Man, I hate that counter ray. If you screw up during the Hammer Slammer, he ends up covering basically the whole arena, and you're just gonna have to take a hit. We made it to the final boss, Pearl. Weird choice, Pearl? But I don't have any flasks. And we get messed up by the camera beast trying to do some bubbles, then get hit with the Elden Fury. I'm pretty terrible at dodging that one. Next attempt, Radagon goes so much worse. The Hammer Slammer actually targets Aurelia, that's great, but we have no flasks even if we got through it, so I just quit out. We're gonna count that as a death, though it does save a rune arc, I guess. Giving up is a great strategy. There's no shame in quitting. Quitting is cool. Quit your jobs, folks. I wanted to get one more attempt in before we go level up Aurelia. She's still only +7 after all, so that could make it a little bit better. She would at least be alive for more of the Radagon fight. But Radagon goes pretty good this time. Sure, we got hit by the Hammer Slammer, but we bounced back fine. Aurelia dies from the breath right away in the Pearl fight, but that's also fine since she can't get poisoned anyway. This fight is always a lottery. It starts off going pretty good, with Pearl going for melee attacks that we can dodge and throw bubbles in. Even better, as she goes for the Elden Stars, we hit a stance break, and that means no Elden Stars. Though those aren't actually that big of a deal since this build has vigor. It's more of a problem for squishy builds. After triple rings, we go for the fast bubbles, and then Pearl throws hard. She uses the insta-kill attack, but her big body pushes us out so we can start the punishment early and get the free win with the bubbles. It took 5 hours and 44 minutes of in-game time. We killed 29 bosses and only died 20 times. That's a positive KD ratio and sub 6 hour time with bubbles. They have been buffed so much, they're not bad. They're kinda good. We're putting it at the Bikini Bottom of B tier. I think you could make this much better at home with some faster casting options, or maybe just a melee weapon to get things done when you run out of mind. Pretty fun? Try it. If you want to see surprisingly good runs live, follow me on Twitch. We find new ways to play Elden Ring all the time. Join the Patreon if you want to give me money. That's the best place to do it. And follow my other channel if you want to watch me do tabletop RPG stuff and other silly things.